As far as Melee's top tiers go, they're pretty incredible. And a big reason for this is actually because, well, Melee's roster as a whole is super lopsided. And I don't mean that as a negative or to demean the game in any way, but anyone who plays Melee even casually probably understands this. The low tiers are much lower than the rest of the characters that are in the cast. If this was compared to a modern day fighting game, a lot of the low tiers wouldn't even be as good as a lot of mid-tier characters. It truly shows how good Melee's top tier characters are. They're Chads. Yes, I called them Chads. You understand. They have incredible amounts of KO power, consistent combo tools, and they have projectiles or insane amounts of range. Most of them have great recoveries too. And while you know the low tiers especially lack pretty much a lot of these areas, Melee's meta has a lot of depth. There's actually some people who believe that the characters who are under the top tiers are not even worth playing. That's how bad it is. Now, I personally don't feel that way, but there's some people that just won't play any character lower than like the top tiers. And that's because it gets really harder and harder to win top level tournaments with these characters, as most of them have bad matchups or they have underdeveloped metas. And also the top 7 characters have a lot of matchup theory and just like decades more experience. If you don't play Melee, you probably won't understand the depth of how good things like Fox's Shine are, but we will get to stuff like that later because yeah, it's gonna get deep. Fox is a very good character. People would definitely agree with that, but do I think he's the best character, the most broken character in the whole series? I think characters like Meta Knight in Brawl and Smash 4 Bayo actually are better than the character. And a lot of the top 7 characters have sort of even matchups with Fox, so yes, he is the best character in the game. I'm not demeaning him at all. Heck, there's matchups that Fox actually has a little bit more difficulty dealing with, especially if they don't know the matchup, like Samus, for example. The top tiers are definitely more closer in viability in Melee than a lot of the other Smash games. It's usually 1 or 2 characters running the meta, but there's actually a decent amount of characters that are viable here. After that though, yeah, the viability definitely starts to dip. Peach in Melee is actually a very interesting version of the character. Peach's history in Smash is actually kind of interesting because this version of Peach pretty much just like in her own lane. In future Smash games, she becomes super technical, fast-paced, and combo-centric, and then you see this down smash. Now obviously this is a move most people think of when they hear Melee Peach. This version of the character is actually super defensive. She is a beast. She's essentially the tank of Melee's meta, or at least of the top tiers. She's slow, but she has very low mobility, pretty terrible wave dash, but she has some very fast options that come out insanely quick. She has a float, and the float is like really deep. She can float cancel aerials, it can improve her recovery. If we talked about float all day, we would be here all day. Along with her beefy aerials, she has turnips that also allow her to pull items, and oh my god, we should ban her, right? Or even, you know, the iconic Stitch face. Whee! The turnips might not look like they're actually good compared to other projectiles, but they're actually amazing at controlling space. She has the ability to chain grab. Surprise, surprise. Characters can chain grab in Melee if you didn't know that. And if you don't like chain grabbing, I'm sure you'll love Brawl. Even her recovery is actually pretty solid. While it can be flawed at times, she's not perfect, but the amount of options when recovering that she has is actually very good. This is what separates her from a lot of other characters. Her main flaws are her slow mobility, as mentioned earlier, and she's also a lightweight. Combined with her floatiness, it makes her easy to combo at times, and it also can make her be walled out by certain characters, thus having trouble approaching. Now, some people think Peach is actually a difficult character to solo main because she does have some pretty bad matchups that are a little bit harder for the character, like Jigglypuff. But however, there's actually been some breakthroughs on certain matchups. They actually look a little bit more doable than they have in the past. However, if a solo Peach main to win a major, I do think it's hard to do this because Peach does definitely have some troublesome matchups. I'm saying this as somebody who plays Peach. Some people think in the future characters like Ice Climbers or Yoshi could take her spot, but I do think she is a solid character. Captain Falcon is good again, what? But in reality, he originally did not start that way. Long ago, people were speculating the character was a low tier for a long time during the early days of Melee's meta. Yes, this is back when people barely knew how to do anything, but it's still funny to look back at. Over time, people began to grow fond of the character and realize he has many positives. The character was usually played really overly aggressively, mostly people spamming knee and trying to, you know, cheese. And he was speculated to actually be bad for having a mediocre recovery, having very laggy moves. It would take many years for people to truly develop the more advanced things of Captain Falcon's meta, like his defensive aspects of the character, like his ability to crouch cancel. and Tech Chase. The reason why I wanted to state Falcon's history is to show that to make Falcon a top tier in Melee, one side of him is a very aggressive and sort of run in and try to fish for knees type of playstyle to the character, while the other is his ability to play defensively and hold back and punish the opponent. Captain Falcon is known for many things like, you know, his iconic knee, which is such a silly KO tool. I'm sure every Falcon main has seen it. While his smash attacks are definitely laggy, they still fit his archetype on being strong, although his up smash is definitely pretty gimmicky. His aerials are pretty integral to his whole combo game, and they all pretty much have regular use in his kit, like Nair's ability to start combos, back air and up air's ability to edge guard, and down air being an incredible tool on stage and off stage. As yeah, you can meteor smash with it, and it sets up really easily on stage into his knee. Down throw and up throw can even be used for tech chasing or setting up conversions, and the other two throws can help Falcon's off-stage game. He's one of Smash's most hypest characters of all time. He's probably one of the most iconic versions of the character, and he does have flaws, sure, but he's incredibly explosive. If you have a character that has super deadly punishes, and you're probably going to have the crowd yelling in the background, definitely what Captain Falcon is like in Melee. Now Sheik has to be Melee's more bread and butter fundamental top tier character, and Sheik is a very, very good character. There's been periods where people have kind of debated Sheik's placement. Actually, fun fact, she was originally speculated to be the best character in Melee early on. This is obviously because people figured out more obvious combos pretty early, like down throw forward air, a very simple combo tool. Sheik also has one of the best projectiles in the game, being her needle that can be charged and deal multiple hits, and also you can just shoot it out once as a very quick projectile tool. It can stop approaches, recoveries, etc. And Sheik is known for her attacks having a high amount of range, like her back air and amazing spacing and edge guarding tools. She's good at breaking skirmishes with her down smash, and while having enough range to make her competent in Melee's meta, which is definitely important because a lot of the low tiers don't have this. Her tilts are incredible spacing tools because of this. Sheik actually had periods of being #1, but as the meta developed, she would fall a little bit lower in Melee's tier list, but not by much. She still was a top tier pretty much the whole time. But this would actually change when Sheik won a super major during the last couple of years. And if anything, Sheik is actually looking better than ever before. Her main flaws could be, you know, some of her special moves are pretty lackluster, like her chain, you know, more specifically. Although you can do stuff with it, it's just very gimmicky. And obviously down special, and if you're not using it as a recovery tool, yeah, you become a low tier. There might have been a time period where people were counting out the character. It only took a matter of time for Sheik to finally win a major, and this character is actually my main, so I always was a Sheik fan and I always thought Sheik was good. Sheik is definitely my main, so yeah, you bet I spam crouch cancel down smash all day. Okay, I'm kidding. Falco has been a mainstay in Melee's meta, and he's been a top tier character for a really long period of time. Falco is actually the highest tiered clone character in the whole game, and although he's sort of fallen off from where people ranked him at second, being right next to Fox for a long time. But Puff and Marth's metas have developed heavily, sort of pushing Falco down a little bit. Falco is another punish-heavy character with an incredible laser with stun, and his shine sets up into his iconic pillar combos with his down air. And this is also one of the best down airs in the game, as it spikes off stage and it comes out incredibly fast. He still is an incredible character despite being lower in the meta. It could be because Falco's weaknesses are a little bit more apparent compared to Fox's. While both characters struggle at being chain grabbed, Fox has the much stronger recovery as it goes further, and Falco's up B is pretty short. And even though his side special, it will actually meteor, it doesn't offset the fact that his up special is definitely more limited than Fox's. Falco's speed is also in general slightly slower than Fox's. His grabs are also pretty mediocre, and however, despite all this, I think Falco is actually slightly underrated right now. I think Falco is still an amazing character. I know some people are counting him out as of right now. He definitely has some trickier matchups, yes, but low-key, just because Falco's at 4th right now, I think he's actually still very good. I'm a bit of a Falco believer, and I feel like anytime in Melee, it's kind of like in the movies. Sometimes when people count out certain characters, that's when the character comes back the next day even stronger. Or maybe I'm being too positive, I don't know. I like to remain hopeful. Just like Captain Falcon, Jigglypuff will become a low tier in Brawl, but in Melee, they share one thing, both being top tiers in this game, and also being low tiers in Melee's early meta, which is kind of funny. People thought Puff was a low tier character very early on, likely because of the character being very unconventional and being lightweight. She doesn't have a normal up special recovery, and she has a down special that does absolutely nothing. Okay, you know I'm kidding. But seriously, that would be one of the most ironic things from these old, less educated Melee tier lists. It turns out that the weird quirks that the character had actually made Puff very good. Puff has an extremely high amount of aerial drift. It's the highest amount of aerial drift in the game. She's extremely difficult to edgeguard, and it actually made Puff have a very strong recovery despite looking very unconventional and strange. Rest was literally Melee's strongest move in the whole game, and the character's most high-risk, high-reward moves that you will always see in competitive play. Jigglypuff is always just securing stocks. You can't really count out the character. And while having a very hilariously sized back air, this made Puff into an edgeguarding machine with her ability to Wall of Pain. Wall of Pain is basically where you just back air nonstop over and over and over. It's fun. While Puff's grounded moves aren't the best, despite her smash attacks being laggy, they do kill, and her side special was another incredible recovery tool that sort of blocks opponents that try to contest her. While some other moves are sort of gimmicky, like, Sing, which, is pretty risky in this game, and of course Rollout. Heck, like I mentioned earlier, Puff is a super lightweight character, and this easily could make the character really bad. I mean, cough cough, just wait until the next Smash game. But the negatives for the character are not outweighing the positives. She is a Melee top tier for a reason. She can grab confirm opponents into rest, and this works especially well on fast fallers, and she can just literally crouch under Falco's lasers. Yes, not a lot of characters can do this. And she can use her aerial drift to camp. Woo! She is the best version of the character by far. It's honestly insane. Marth is so good in Melee. It's not like Marth is ever going to be good again in future Smash games, right? Okay, you get it. Marth, aka I just grabbed your lunch money from the other side of the stage. Anytime you talk about Melee Marth, you obviously have to bring up his one and only, his grab. It's basically how you set the tone of the character. Apologies to the people who get reminded from this Smash 4 Bowser-esque grab. Sorry I had to remind you of that. But to be real, Marth is an incredible character in Melee. He is the king of range. Has the ability to easily grab, characters like Yoshi for some reason. And also he can chain grab with his up throw and tech chase opponents and start conversions with his down throw and back throw. And overall, the range of his sword is at its peak in this Smash game. And you might be surprised with how easy it is to hit tippers in Melee. Look at his forward smash range, his aerials, his smash attacks have pretty much incredible range. A lot of the low tiers can't contest him for this reason. Marth can just swat them away, and they, if they're really stubby, they can't really do a lot of things. It's hard for them to get openings. Not only that, Marth is not a slow character. His moves are incredibly rewarding. He can even finish them off with, sweet spotted down air, for example, which meteors, or his tilts can even set up in edge guards or conversions, or even the lesser talked about tools like his side special, which has utility even on and off stage. Some moves are better than others for sure, but Marth's flaws can be his difficulty at killing at higher percents, otherwise known as Marthritis. Some of his moves are better at racking up damage than, killing, so that, is a little bit of a problem. Sometimes it's hard for him to take stocks. But even in some people's mind, think that flaw is not really a big deal, as it can be worked around. Either way, this is definitely a premier version of a Melee top tier. Marth is, he's just so good in this game. He's always been a meta threat, like pretty much all the way back in the day, so yeah, he's good. Fox has to be one of the most busted characters in Smash, right? Now don't get me wrong, I'm not undervaluing Fox. He is incredible. He will always have a spot in the meta. Do I think his Brawl Meta Knight levels are broken? Not necessarily. Even in Melee, Fox has matchups that are tricky for him, like Marth, Samus. I'm definitely not trying to rag on Fox. He's incredible. He just, has a little bit more flaws. He's not bulletproof. Pun intended, is a gun. Sorry. His recovery is one of the best recoveries in the game. Yes, people will carve notches into their own GameCube controllers, just, you have Firefox angles. Yes, this is a thing. His laser is pretty much one of the best projectiles in the game. It's very easy at racking up damage. You can even double laser and, just spam at the other side of the stage. Or even his shine, which is literally one of his best tools in his whole kit. hitting it at frame 1 and at an away angle, which makes this move a beast as an edge guarding tool or even as a combo tool. I'm sure most of you have seen Shine and know why it's good. It is really, really good. But to be honest, this is literally one of the deepest moves in Melee, so I don't really want to seem like I'm glazing over it. It's pretty much everything for the character, especially when characters are recovering. He can stall his recovery with it. He can, use it as an easier time when aiming his side B. Yes, like God intended, he can also use it to reflect projectiles. Not only that, he has his up attacks that are insanely strong and some of the strongest in the game, like his up smash, up tilt, and up air. His grabs are also pretty decent and definitely better than Falco's, as Fox can chain grab with his up throw and also do up throw into up air. Fox's aerials are pretty much all pretty decent. They have strong usage in his kit. Really, his only flaws are his fast fall speed, and yes, this allows him to combo insanely fast, but also it's part of the reason why he is such a technical character, but he also has some weaknesses too because of this fast fall speed. It makes him fall like a rock off stage, and it makes him easy to chain grab and punish at times. And although Fox is insanely good, he has options that definitely offset his fast fall speed off stage, like having an amazing up special. His range isn't the best, as at times if a Fox main gets too greedy, they can definitely be shield punished. Definitely have to watch out for that. Yeah, Fox's fast fall speed also becomes a problem in his own Ditto matchup. That's how fun this can be. He definitely has a really large technical skill curve, but then he becomes super rewarding if you're willing to put in the work in the character and master him. I mean, this applies to any character in this game or any fighting game, but I think Fox, it really does start to show because of how technical he is. Fox is just an amazing character, period. And if you've played Melee, I'm sure you've probably run into the character at some point. You pretty much have to know how to fight him. If I were to predict any character who could be a top tier in the future, low-key, I think Yoshi and Ice Climbers are probably the closest to becoming a top tier maybe in the future. Mostly Yoshi, more specifically, is probably Melee's most unique and deep characters in the whole meta. Probably one of the hardest characters to learn in the game, even harder than Fox. But I think he sort of has the element of surprise right now that I don't think a lot of people really know how to fight Yoshi. Maybe you guys agree too, but I don't want to deep dive into Yoshi in this video because he's technically a high tier right now. He's just outside of being a top tier, but if it happens one day, maybe come back and be like, hey, Honest Content was right. If you want to learn anything from Melee's top tiers, and maybe this is my opinion, but no, I don't care. I think people who don't know about Melee's meta, they normally think it's just Fox versus Fox on Final Destination. Gasp, they know us. But more recently, Melee's meta has sort of evolved to the point where more characters can win a super major than ever. And even Donkey Kong is becoming a viable character for once. Like, look at how many Donkey Kong mains we got in the top 100. Like, I never thought I would ever see that. If you want a more nuanced take, I think the top tiers are close together on this tier list, closer than a lot of people give them credit for being. Some of them are actually the most dominant versions of these characters in the series, and that's why they're so beloved. Thank you guys for watching the video. There's a Patreon down below if you guys want to support the channel and get videos early. You guys have a good one. Take care. Peace.